I awoke to the smell of mold and dripping water. My head ached, and when I opened my eyes, something was wrong. The street I stood on was paved with cobblestones, but the stones were too smooth, too perfect, like toy building blocks. The houses surrounding me leaned at odd angles, their windows dark and empty. A small swing on a porch creaked back and forth in the breeze. Where the hell am I? I struggled to get back on my feet, my knees cracking. The air was thick and metallic on my tongue. Above me, the sky was no sky at all, just a low, heavy ceiling of gray. A signpost leaned at the corner, its arms pointing in random directions. Main Street, Elm Lane, Maple Drive. The names meant nothing. They felt rehearsed. Then I saw the eyes. They shone in the darkness of a neighboring shop. Two tiny points of light. I stopped moving. A cat? A rat? But as I stepped closer, the shape darted away. Too fast, too small. A glimpse of a painted face in the shadows. A doll. Its smile was cracked. Hello. My voice echoed, hollow. No response. Nothing but the dripping water and the constant creak of that awful swing. I walked. The town was a maze of narrow streets and leaning lamp posts. There was a general store with dusty jars of candy. There was a schoolhouse with tiny desks. There was a church with a spire that looked like a melted candle. Everything seemed too clean, untouched by time. But the longer I was there, the more I noticed something was off. Door knobs were as small as my thumb. Stairs were too short to climb, and the windows had shifting shadows. And the whispers, they came in sharp bursts, like wind through cracks. Not words, but sounds, high and wailing, like children. I turned around quickly, my heart racing, but there was never anyone there. Only dolls, dozens of them, sitting in windows and on steps, their glassy eyes fixed on me. I found a house, and a Maple Drive. It looked like a Victorian cottage, only smaller, like a life-size dollhouse. The front door was open. A lamp cast a warm glow inside. A fire burned in a tiny fireplace, barely the size of a bread box. Is anybody here? I asked, stepping inside. The door slammed behind me. Something scurried inside the walls, quick scattering footsteps. I pressed against the door, shaking. A grandfather clock ticked in the corner, its hands spinning wildly. Faster, faster, too fast. The gears whirred, buzzing like an overworked machine. Dust fell from the ceiling. And then, suddenly, the clock stopped. Everything changed. The room aged before my eyes. The wallpaper peeled away. The fire died. The lamp's glow turned an eerie shade of green. The floor, the furniture, even my own hands were coated in grime. My heart pounded. What was this place? A giggle came from upstairs. Thin, brittle. Who's there? I snarled. The giggle curdled into a wet, raspy cough. I heard footsteps above me, bare feet against wooden floors. I climbed the stairs, each step heavier than the last, like something was pulling me back. The nursery was at the end of the hall. Inside, a child's bedroom was left frozen in time. A crib held mildewed stuffed animals. A music box played a warped, twisted lullaby. And in the corner, a boy. He was small, maybe 6 years old, dressed in striped pajamas. He sat with his back to me, head bowed. His hair was messy and his skin looked damp. "Hello," I said softly. "Are you lost?" He turned. His face was smooth, porcelain-like, with a jagged crack from his temple to his jaw. One of his eyes was gone, just a hollow space. But the other eye, it was bright blue, too alive. "You're late," he growled, his voice dry and brittle, like wind through dead leaves. "Late for what?" "You were supposed to help." I felt a weight settle in my stomach. "Help with what?" He pointed at the wall. His fingers bent at unnatural angles, too many joints. There was a photograph, a family portrait, a woman with a strained smile, a man with empty eyes, and in between them, a small boy, wide-eyed, terrified. I knew that boy. Memories rushed over me like a tidal wave. Rainy nights, shouting from the next room, a child's quiet sobs. I pulled a pillow over my head, telling myself it wasn't my problem. The boy's name rose to the surface. slow and heavy, like something pulled from deep water. Peter, my neighbor, the one I'd avoided. Peter, I'm sorry. His smooth face didn't change, but his voice hardened. You left me with her. The floorboards creaked behind me. I turned. The woman from the photograph stood in the doorway, her body stretched unnaturally long, her arms thin and clawed. Her face was a blur, no eyes, only a mouth, wide and filled with jagged teeth. "Peter," she sang, "time for your medicine." The boy whimpered. The thing that had been his mother lurched forward, her joints cracking with each step. I backed away, but the walls seemed to close in, the room shrinking around me. Peter scrambled in the crib, his cracked face wild with fear. "Run!" he cried. I ran. I stumbled down the stairs, through the living room, and out into the street. The sky was shifting, the gray clouds twisting like a storm trapped overhead. I ran until my lungs burned, and then the town gave way to a forest of bare trees. Then I felt a deep ache in my bones. Wrinkles crawled across my skin, and my joints stiffened and swollen with pain. I touched my face, loose skin, deep creases. I was aging. Time moved faster here. Every second stole more of me. Panic rose in my chest. I had to get out. Now, a doll lay in the road, its head twisted too far around. It spoke in Peter's voice. "She can't leave the house, and you can't leave the town. Not unless you break the rules." "What rules?" I shouted. The doll's jaw snapped open. "Find what's real." I kept searching as my body withered. My hair turned gray, then white. My back bent and my hands trembled. The town spun through decades and minutes. Buildings crumbled, forests swallowed them whole, and then everything rebuilt itself, fresh and new like a wound healing over and over. Inside the remains of the old schoolhouse, I found a small, dust-covered desk. P plus D was carved into the wood. Peter and Dad? In the corner shop. A faded newspaper clipping lay among the debris. Local father vanishes. Family denied mistreatment of child. The date was smudged, but the year I lived in that apartment building. In the church, a tiny Bible sat on the altar, its pages scribbled with a child's writing. He said he would come back. He said. The pieces fell into place. Peter's father was gone. His mother took it out on him, and I did nothing. Now, we were all stuck in his nightmare, trapped in the same endless cycle. Find what's real, the doll had said. Not the dolls. Not the town stuck on repeat. Something from the outside. I stumbled back toward the twisted dollhouse, my body failing. The front door had vanished. In its place, a wall of flickering static. Peter waited inside, curled up in the ashes of the fireplace. "It's too late," he whispered. His porcelain face had cracked even more, his voice barely a breath. "You're old." "She'll catch you." The ceiling shook. Claws scraped against the hallway above. "Your dad. He left something behind, didn't he? Something important." Peter's eyes widened. He reached into his pajama pocket and pulled out a small, grimy key. He said it was for our new house, but we never moved. The key shimmered, solid and unchanged, while everything else pulsed like a dying heartbeat. "That's it," I said. "Give it to me." Peter hesitated. The ceiling groaned. His mother shrieked. "Peter, please." I begged. "I'll get help. I'll send someone back for you." A thick, glue-like tear slid down his broken cheek. He placed the key in my hand. The moment I touched it, the house screamed. The walls caved inward. The mother's claws tore through the floor. I forced the key into the static-filled doorway. It turned. Light exploded around me. Then silence. I woke up on the floor of my apartment, gasping. My body mine again. No wrinkles. No pain. Morning light streamed through the window. The clock read 7:03 a.m. Only an hour had passed. But in the wall, faint and distant, a child's cry echoed. I called the police. They found the mother's body first. Alcohol overdose. She passed away a while ago. Peter was in the closet, starved, clutching a toy key. He lived. I left town the next day. But sometimes when time moves too fast, when moments blur together, I swear I see them. Porcelain eyes, watching, waiting, wondering if I'll keep my promise.